mystery has always been a part of the Super Mario series. Some sort of. Because there's one item seen in almost every game that's only there to make you curious. The question mark blocks. While they seem quite useless, they actually play a huge role. And today we're going to completely analyze them and see how they evolved over the years. The question mark block is one of the many blocks found in the Mario universe and one of the most common. They were seen for the first time in Super Mario Bros. And in the manual, it stated that Bowser, using the Koopa clan's famous dark magic, had cursed the Mushroom Kingdom, turning its citizens into a variety of objects, including bricks, and possibly the question blocks. Princess Peach could apparently reverse this spell, so she was kidnapped by the Koopa clan. The game's manual later talked about how Mario could come across mushroom people who had been turned into bricks, and receive items from them. Although this is the only official origin story of the question blocks, it would appear to have been long since retconned out of the Mario games, with them now seemingly being a natural feature of the Mushroom Kingdom. So at the start of the series, there was an actual explanation for these random objects floating in the air, and it's actually an extremely grim one. But now we know why they contain items at least. In the game, they appear to be flashing for some reason. There's no in-game explanation, so they probably did this to make them stand out more. They are very common since they are sometimes needed to complete a level or help you in a tough situation. Some blocks are hidden and can only be seen when Mario happens to hit them, and there's also a chance that it contains a beanstalk, which you can climb to get to a secret area. Now this item essentially has two uses in the game: a way of hiding a fun secret and supplying the player with bonus points or even power-ups. This is essentially a reward for the player in both instances, either to make the level easier, get a higher score, or even to win a jackpot with stuff like coin heavens. Because of the fact that there is only a question mark on it and gives you a random thing, it's always a fun surprise for the player. You need to give the player an incentive in games, otherwise they will get bored. Without a reward, there is no reason to do anything really. So in order to give them something to look forward to, surprise them and get the dopamine flowing, they put these in the game. Dopamine is the chemical in your body that makes you happy. Obtaining or achieving something causes your brain to release this as a reward for doing a thing. Without these blocks, the levels would also become a bit dull and linear, because there's nothing exciting to keep your attention. Now, in the next game, Super Mario Bros. 2, they were absent, and essentially replaced by the roots that you pull out of the ground. They are there for the same reason as the original question mark blocks. Luckily enough, this didn't last long, because they weren't as good. In the game after this, Super Mario Bros. 3, they finally return, though their design is slightly different. They are no longer flashing, and the question marks on the blocks seem to be moving, and I'm not really sure why they made this change. The item was becoming a bit stale, and Nintendo only made minor changes, although they focused mostly on enemies in Super Mario Bros. 3. But the revolutionary Super Mario World made some big ones. They yet again had a bit of a redesign. They have eyes and seem to be reanimations of the game's rotating blocks, and they are even given rotating block-like eyes when hit. Besides that, no function-related changes were made, but there's also a winged variation now called flying question blocks. They fly left to right while moving up and down. This is added as a challenge. At this point, fans of the franchise knew what they were, and Nintendo probably found out that people always tried to get them. So they made a small challenge out of it, yet again to make the game less bland, more challenging, and even more rewarding. It's a small touch, but in the end, it's quite important in a game. You will especially notice this if they're gone all of a sudden. A red question block version also appears, which is only found in the dark final hallway of Bowser's castle, and activates a spotlight. This is essentially a throwaway mechanic that's used in this one instance to make dodging enemies and obstacles harder. Nothing too special about it, since the block is only used as a switch essentially. After this, the blocks disappeared for quite a while. They weren't seen in any of the 3D games during the N64 and GameCube era. Sure, others were seen, but those functioned differently, and still didn't change a whole lot. They probably did this because those games were open world and there were multiple missions set in the same stage. So adding those boxes wasn't really a surprise anymore. Luckily enough, they returned in the modern revival of the 2D side-scroller format, New Super Mario Bros. Here, only one new mechanic was added, and actually quite a logical one. Trap blocks. In 2 ghost houses, some of them contain booze, and the game also features rare spiky ones in World 6, which only appear in this game. Mario must be careful to hit the block only on the spikeless side, because as you can guess, it hurts you otherwise. Just like the flying version, this is done to increase the difficulty of the challenge. There is a reward after all, and the player wants it, so might as well make it hard to get. Throughout the series, they started to do this more and more, building traps and extra challenges around the question mark blocks. In my opinion, this is the best move Nintendo could make with them. They're crucial for the balance of the game and keeping it fair, but adding a fun twist every now and then makes it less linear. They also vary in color depending on the theme of the level, with this trend reoccurring in New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. 2, which makes it look more fitting to its surroundings. Now in the games that came after this, they only made some small changes, for example in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Some of them behave differently from the average stationary version. There are ones that tend to sway left and right, along with other objects such as brick blocks and coins. Others lay in the water in some levels, where it's easier to ground pound them. There's only one reason for doing this: battling the linear behavior and making rewards harder to get to, just like they did in the previous game. And putting them in different places also surprises the player a bit more and makes them look around. There's also a haunted version called Obaka Block. They turn purple as they float over the character and throw themselves at him, breaking apart and releasing a coin. This is yet again a trap. In the game, they even put a star coin around it, and as soon as you grab it, these will fly at you. Nintendo always tries to create an effect that will entice or surprise the player. This is yet again an example of it. They even added some sort of side quests, because a toad can be found trapped in one of them in certain levels. If you bring the toad to the end of the course, you are rewarded with a toad house, with the variation depending on the timer. So there's an actual objective inside of them even, where you get a reward at the end, which is absolutely genius. Concepts like this keep the game interesting and full of surprises. Certainly a good idea. Now another game that introduced new things is Super Mario 3D World. They added something minor, which is the rectangle box that gives you more coins. But also something more interesting: coin boxes. They are worn by Mario over his head and don't let him throw fireballs or boomerangs or turn into a statue. It cannot be taken off unless you hit an enemy. And if you make it to the goal pole with the box on, it disappears and gives you an extra life. While inside a coin box, infinite coins will pop out of it while you're moving. A bit of a weird effect. This time with a short and long-term reward. By the looks of it, they started to experiment more and more with the boxes throughout time, which was the perfect move. What they contain is unknown after all, so when it comes to that, Nintendo has all the freedom in the world. And so they tried all kinds of different things, some great, and some a bit bland. Now that's where it kind of ends. Not a whole lot changed from this point onwards, but now you at least know how it evolved throughout the years. Thanks for watching everybody, be sure to come to the meetup, and if you want to watch more videos, then click the annotations on the screen right now. And maybe subscribe, that would be really cool.